Okay, so in this video, I am going to be talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. So when it comes to parallel lines, so if a line is parallel, then the slope is the same. So if they tell you that a line is parallel, then your m value is going to be the same in both. Then if they tell you that the line is perpendicular, then the slope is the opposite reciprocal. Meaning that you change the sign and you flip the fraction. Okay. So let's go through a few examples. So they say that the line is parallel to this one right here. So our y equals 3x minus 5, and then passes through this point. So if it's parallel, then it's going to have the same slope. So what you're going to do is you're going to plug this in for your x and your y. So negative 3 equals, because that's our y. Now our m is going to stay the same, so that is going to stay 3. Then our x is 4 plus b. So you've got your negative 3 equals 12 plus b. So I'm going to subtract 12 on both sides. So negative 3 minus 12, excuse me, is negative 15. So you're doing the exact same thing that you were doing in the last section, but this time you just already know what your m value is. It just depends on if it's parallel or if it's perpendicular. So then you still have to rewrite your equation. So your y equals your 3x because your m value is still the same. Let's put that so our m equals 3 minus 15 because we just found that as our b. Okay, so let's try this one. So again, our line is parallel to this one, so meaning that our m equals 1/2. Then here's our x and our y. So we're going to plug that in. So 2 equals 1/2 times negative 4 plus b. So that's 2 equals negative 2 plus b. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So 4 equals b. So y equals 1/2 x plus 4. Okay, go ahead and try those two on your own. And let's skip down to number 5. So this time they tell you that it is perpendicular. So if it is perpendicular, then you are going to do the opposite. So because this is positive, opposite would be negative. And then the reciprocal, so we are going to flip this fraction. So if we flip this, then it's going to be 2 over 1 or just negative 2. And then our x and our y, like the last, that's not going to change. So 7 equals -2 times -5 plus b. So that is 7 equals 10 plus b. And I would subtract the 10 on both sides. So 7 minus 10 is -3. So y equals our m, which we said was -2x minus 3. Okay, so let's try this again. So perpendicular. So it's the opposite. So if this one's positive, we're going to make it negative, and then we're going to flip it. So this one isn't a fraction, but everything is always over 1. So if I flip that, it's going to be 1/4. Then our x and our y. So 1 equals -1/4 times -2 plus b. So that's 1 equals, 2 negatives are going to make a positive. And then this is like 2/1. So you would multiply straight across. So 1 times -2 is going to be a +2/4 plus b. So I would subtract that on both sides. And 2/4 is the same as 1/2. So 1 minus 1/2, here I'm going to come up over here, is 1/2. So y equals -1/4 x plus 1/2. Or you can put 0.5, it doesn't matter. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one. So here our equation is not in y equals. So we have to put that in y equals before we can figure out what our m value is. So here, let's do this up here because we got a lot of room up here. So remember, we are not moving the y. So I would start by subtracting 4x on both sides. So -2y equals -4x minus 6. And again, we're not moving the y, so I would divide by -2. If I do that on one side, I have to do it to the other. So -4 divided by -2 is a +2x. -6 divided by -2 is a +3. So perpendicular, meaning that we would make it the opposite. So if that's +2, we're going to make this one negative. And then we're going to flip it. So this is like 2/1. So if I flip that, it's going to be 1/2. Here's our x and our y. So 2 equals -1/2 x plus b. So -1/2 times 10 is going to be -5. So add 5 to both sides. So 7 equals b. So y equals -1/2 x plus 7. Okay, go ahead and try that one on your own. So a few things to remember if you are comparing your slopes. One is make sure that you're in, so both equations are in y equals mx plus b form. It's parallel, gonna have the same slope, which remember that's your m value, and if it's perpendicular, it's gonna have the opposite reciprocal. Okay. So we are not both in y equals form here. So we're going to change this first one. So just looking at the top, I'm going to rewrite this. So 3x plus 2y equals negative 5. So just like what we did up here, we are going to put the y all by itself. So I'm going to start by subtracting 3x on both sides. So 2y equals negative 3x minus 5. And I can't combine those because we have an x and this one does not have an x. Divide by 2. So y equals negative 3 halves x minus 5 over 2 or 2.5. Okay, so now we are just looking at the slopes. So I've got this one that is 2/3 and this one that is negative 3 halves. So obviously they are not the same, so they are not parallel. But they are opposite, so that's the first step in them being perpendicular. And if I were to flip this one over, it'd be 3 over 2, just like this. So these are perpendicular. Okay. So this one I have to change the bottom one. So I'm going to start by adding 5x to both sides. 2y equals 5x plus 20. Divide by 2. So y equals 5 halves x plus 10. Okay, so now looking at these slopes, so I've got negative 5 halves and a positive 5 halves. So obviously they are not the same, so they're not parallel, and they are opposites of each other, but they are not reciprocals. So if I flip this one over, it's going to be 2 fifths, so this is neither. Then this one, these are already in y equals form. They are not the same, but this isn't our m value. This is our b value, because the m is the one that is attached to the x. So if I were to rewrite this one, it would be y equals 0x minus 4. Then if I were to rewrite this one, it would be y equals 0x plus 4. So they do have the same slope. They are both 0, making this one parallel. Okay, so don't be fooled by that when you're doing some of these problems. Okay, let me know if you've got any questions, and I will talk to you soon.